This is not a video with a already supple 20-something-year-old telling you that you can do the splits in 30 days if you just stretch every day. This video is about me, a 50-year-old, stiff as a street post, triathlete who is wondering what difference will it make if I stretch for 30 days straight, for 30 minutes every day for 30 days, and the difference it makes to my lifestyle more than just being able to do the splits and touch my toes. Every day I started with a similar kind of exercise, so a stretch that I just stretched up as high as I could and then bent over and reached down towards my toes. And the goal, like I said, was never to actually touch my toes. The goal was to stretch my back and stretch my hamstrings, and the benefit of that was that I may end up being able to touch my toes. I did a whole lot of runners' lunges in particular. Obviously, being a runner and being on the bike, runners' lunges are really good for hamstrings, and that was probably my major focus for the whole 30 days, is to really stretch that out. I noticed when I was in the van for those few months, that was a muscle that tightened up the most, and I really needed to stretch those out. I did stretching for my arms as well and shoulders. Probably 100% of the time I'm in the pool, I'm doing freestyle. Occasionally I may do a lap of breaststroke, or occasionally I may do a lap of backstroke, but usually it's that forward movement, the forward rotation of the arm. So they were the ones that I tried to reverse, doing that backwards, trying to grab my hands. I could actually do that on one side, not the other side. I did have a fall on my bike a number of years ago where I went over the handlebars and landed on my right shoulder. And now I'm wondering if that's the reason I find it really hard to move that one to be able to grab my hands. I'm on day 4 of my challenge. With the last 4 months living in the van, my flexibility has become even worse, if that was possible. In the last 3 days, as I actually have felt a lot better, especially getting out of bed in the morning. For the first time in, I don't remember how long, I actually walked up a hill without having a sore hamstring. We are now on our way to Townsville to collect Tim's daughter, who's going to come and live with us. So we're back in the van for a week, which is really cool. And I've had to come out and just bring my yoga mat and strap and block and find space next to the van to stretch. So we're in that place just out of Gladstone. It's been 15 days since I started, so I'm halfway through. I feel like I'm getting there, getting down to almost touching my toes, and even though the goal is not to actually touch my toes, it is a marker. I thought that I was doing a good downward dog until I saw the video of what I actually look like, and I'm very stiff. When I'm running, I often feel, particularly when I get tired, when I'm going up a curve, I notice that my left leg, which is which is the hamstring that's sore, I have to kind of almost lift it straight to get up. But since stretching every day, that's no longer the case. I actually have a lot more movement in my hips and in my legs when I'm running, so that's actually been really good. You know, I notice benefits straight away, without a doubt. I notice benefits straight away, but I was hoping I'd be much more flexible by this point, and I'm not. Which, 50 years of inflexibility is not going to be solved by 2 weeks of stretching. I kept trying to inch forwards on the mat when I was doing those splits. How far can you actually split yourself? If I had been someone who was stretching my whole life, I'm sure I'd be in a much different position now. Nowhere near the splits. I think I'll have to stretch for another 50 years to get there. some of the things that I've noticed are I don't feel so stiff when I get up in the morning. Getting out of bed, I'm much more flexible. I can wake up and not have that up feeling as you take your first few steps. So that's been really good. And that's about it. I was hoping to actually get to the edge of the mat. But the problem with this mat is it stretches. So as I'm trying to get to the edge of the mat's actually getting longer. I can actually get to my first knuckle on that side. The other side, not so good. This shoulder's given me a lot of grief for a while, but now it's getting a lot better. So I can definitely feel a lot more freedom in my movement. So that's obviously what you want when you're stretching a lot, and you want the flexibility, you want the freedom in your movement. You don't want to feel stiff, and you can definitely feel that. So I don't do the same routine all the time. I mix it up. I do the same kind of exercise, same kind of stretches each time. Sometimes I forget some, sometimes I add more. I tend to do a lot more legs than anything. And a lot of them are based on some yoga. So for a little while, I did some yoga, not regularly, but I would go to a yoga class, and they used to say, it'll come. But, you know, one day you'll be able to do it. And I still can't do it. And I've been doing it every day for 2 weeks. And when I say it like that, that's actually not a long time. So I used to do this one in the yoga class. And they'd say to rather than trying to touch your toes, to lift up and then over. And everyone else would fold over with their heads on their knee or shins. And I'd be here. Have I moved anymore? I think I did this one before. Maybe I just have short arms. And there were some nights when I was just stuck, you know, I was like, oh, at the end of the day, like, oh, I still have to stretch, and I would just, you know, jump on the floor while we're watching TV and do my 30 minutes that way. One of the hardest things about doing this challenge is not the actual stretching, it's finding the time to fit 30 minutes of stretching into every day. So I'm training for a triathlon, and some days I do 2 sessions, and then there's all the other things that you do in life, and I have to fit in 30 minutes of stretching. So I'll often get to the end of the night and then it's like, oh, I still have to stretch. Running yesterday up hills and my quads are quite sore. I haven't done hills for ages. It's a good one for the bum and the back. Let's see the progress on this one. I can actually grip my fingers now on this side. closer to the ground here without the feet getting too far out forward. So pull them in and getting closer. So rather than just trying to reach and touch the toes and bend, the idea is you lift up, and as you lift up, breathe in, and then reach. You know, not perfect, but getting there. But I know the idea, you just can't execute properly. And this side with the tight hamstring is always tighter. Not as much reach, not as much stretch. You can touch, but that's it.
Don't need to pretend that I'm somebody else. With you I can't be myself. That sure is something else. Can we stay for a while until the fire's burn out? It's a shimmering light, setting is right.
So I mostly hold the stretches for around 45 seconds each. Some days if they're hurting a bit more for whatever reason, maybe because of some of the training I've been doing, I may only hold them for around 30 seconds. And some, if they feel really good, up to a minute. So I have my phone down, so it's just got the timer on it so I can see how long I'm holding each stretch. There were some days where I felt like I was making a whole lot of progression, and I was like, yeah, this is great. You know, by day 3, I felt so much different after day 1. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to do this forever. I'm always going to just be able to just go out and stretch. And then I went through this whole period, probably 10 days, where I just felt like it was not making any difference at all. So I think that also comes down to what training I had done. So those days where I'd gone out and I'd done a lot more running or riding, then I actually was stiffer, which makes sense. And that's it for today, another 30 minutes. Here we are at day 27. I did some speed work yesterday for the first time in years. This is probably one of my favourites. I'll just sit here for ages. Whilst it's never been about the splits, it's always interesting to see how far I can split. Not very far. Oh, that's that side. And it's probably the same on each side. Not very far. I am not flexible and I still can't touch my toes.
Been a whingy bum all morning. I didn't want to ride, had to go this afternoon, and now that I've done it, I feel fantastic. So there it is. Oh.
Get out of my video. I'm editing this video and it's 3 days after my challenge finished, and I haven't stretched in 3 days. When you make that commitment that you're going to stretch or do something every day for 30 days, you find the time to do it. When at the end of the challenge, when it's like, oh, don't need to do that anymore, it's just something that really slips away and you don't do it. But I've noticed 3 days in, no stretching, I really can feel it. So I don't want to go back to being as stiff as I was when I first started this challenge, but I know I don't have the commitment to keep going 30 minutes every day. So As I said, probably 5 to 10 minutes a few times a week, and I'll really try and fit it in those key sessions, particularly when I'm doing a lot of running. So this is the last day of the month-long challenge of stretching every day, and they say it takes 21 days to form a habit, and this is not going to be a habit I continue. It's just way too hard to find 30 minutes every day to stretch. I will do some form of stretching because there's definitely been benefits. I feel so much better just getting up out of chairs, walking around, getting in and out of the car, just general movement. Feel a lot better, my legs feel a lot better, so I'll do some kind of modification, maybe 5 minutes, 5 times a week or something, who knows. So I'm going to do some kind of stretching and continue that, but it definitely won't be 30 minutes. So next month I'm doing another challenge. It will be a push-up challenge. So if you'd like to see more of that, make sure you subscribe and you'll see what that challenge is in a month or so. So that's it, 30 minutes of stretching every day for a month, and I'm about as flexible as I'm ever going to be.